Today we have I'm going to follow some similar things, but actually wait, hang on, we're going to start. I want to talk about what I think are some issues that really do matter and take us away from what I think are the really critical issues that are confronting us regarding race and regarding ethnicity and culture. And I think that, as we've discussed, but we're going to have another class, I think on Thursday or next Tuesday, I'm not really sure when. To dig more directly into what the inequality issues are, because I like to really jump around on these things. But today, I want to talk about perceptions and what we think we know versus what we actually know versus what is actually true and what we think is true. And I think that for better or for worse, I don't think things are any worse or better today. But, a lot of people have this idea that, well, first off, I hear people who are in their early 20s talking about how people today and in today's society, I'm like, how the hell do you know anything about today compared to anything else? You haven't been alive for more than 2 decades. So, I am always struck by that. But what I will say is, I don't really get the sense that things are worse in the way that people misperceive what is true and what is reality and so on. I just think we have more opportunities to make judgments and misperceptions. And it can happen really fast, and a lot of information is getting thrown at us, and it's thrown at us very quickly. And people are manipulating that information. And people are manipulating it in ways that it really takes a lot to understand the level of manipulation. And so most everybody alive thinks that advertising affects other people, but it doesn't affect them, for example. I think I'm smart enough to not get caught up by ads and advertisers and so on, but I don't think that other people are smart enough. So, it's me, I'm okay, but the rest of you, right? They did a survey with high school seniors, and 90% of them thought that they were in the top 10% of high school graduates who are really good at getting along with other people. So 90% of everyone they surveyed, which is 900,000 people, thought that they were in the top 10% in their ability to get along with others. And the rest of another 10% thought they were in the top 1/2 of the population. Virtually nobody said they were in the bottom 50% in their ability to get along with other people. So it's fairly common that we rate ourselves smarter than others and just better than others, more moral, more upstanding, more ethical, all these things that we will do that and not really understand the ways in which our lives are being impacted by things. So I called this liberal panic with a question mark because a couple of the because the ideas here revolve largely around what is kind of the liberal perceptions or liberal, because the key idea that I want to talk about at the end is what the degree to which many of these issues are talked about by liberal people who are liberal, who maybe build them up in ways that maybe aren't quite the way things are all the time, and that we don't stop to think about it or reflect on things because we don't know. But I'm going to put one out there really fast. I saw this headline. So this Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so met with the Congressional Committee today about Trump's actions. I saw this little just a couple of weeks ago. And then underneath the main headline was this in smaller type. in a quote, nearly every word out of the president's mouth is a lie. Okay? So who said that? Who said nearly every word out of the president's mouth is a lie? You're reading it really fast. It's a headline. In fact, I read it on my phone. So who said that? Who do you think said it? The colonel, right? So I'm thinking the colonel, right? You're thinking, of course he said it. So I'm thinking, I work with a lot of military people and who are like higher ranking officers, and they're actually really careful about the kinds of things they say. And so I said, I got to dig into this and find out who. I first just passed it by, and then I went, hang on a second. I work with these people. Like, I know a lot of people. They're actually, it's rare that I'll hear one make such a bold statement like that. So I scrolled down and I find out, it's a Democratic congressional representative from some state somewhere who's critiquing President Trump. It's not this guy at all who said that. So it's some Democratic politician. And I think, whoa, was that chance that they did it just like this? You know what I mean? Was that chance, or did it just accidentally show up there? Because what I did was assume that, the lieutenant colonel said that, and that has a lot more weight than some, Democratic political hack. Okay? So I don't know, it was either MSNBC or CNN. That's why I have them both up there. I don't know which one it was. But you see how this happens really fast and quickly, and we're not paying attention. And then here's another one. This is from Fox. So this came from my wife, who was listening to class, the class where I talked about immigration and how immigrants and undocumented immigrants have lower crime rates by far than native-born people. And she came across this headline and she said, hey, you need to address this in class. I mean, you're going to have to talk about this. You better figure out, because you might have to come out and admit you were wrong, right? Because this is pretty big. 80,000 immigrants, right? So, and there's nothing actually, to be honest with you, that I like more than having to come in here and admit that I was an idiot or I was wrong or whatever. Seriously, I do enjoy that. Because why not? I mean, are you kidding me? I'm like, how could I not be wrong? So anyway, I see that it comes from this, this is pretty standard, generic U.S. stuff. So the first thing I do is I call my buddy, who is a former student of mine way, way, way back in the day, is probably one of the smartest criminologists who I know, really good at parsing through data. I said, bro, help me with this, man. Let's walk through that. So we open the article and we start digging around, and we're like, okay, well, look, there's 11 to 12 million undocumented people living in the U.S. There were 765,000 DACA approvals. This is in the article. And 79,000 had arrest records. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. So here's this program that Barack Obama puts in place that tells undocumented immigrants, youth who qualify for the program, who've been here, they were brought here as children against their will. He said, look, if you come forward and sign up, give us your name, your address, your phone number, all the information we need to contact you. I know you're undocumented, but trust us, come forward, sign up. We will agree to not come after you. That's what DACA is. We promise we won't come after you. So, okay? So now, Trump wants to rescind this, and so on. It's the Supreme Court, like I said last class. And so now I'm saying, hey, but immigrants and undocumented immigrants have lower crime rates than everybody else. And then I look at that. I'm like, that's a lot of arrests. You all right? Am I right on that? That's a lot. That feels like a lot of arrests. That's big numbers. So this is right in the top of the article. I'm like, oh, okay, hang on a second. So he and I start digging around, and we're looking at it, and we're going, okay, hang on, let's run these numbers. Let's think about how we think about this, because most people who get arrested never get charged with a crime. Okay, so that's all number really high. So arrest is going to be much higher than actually be charged. And if you're charged, you go through a court of law and are actually convicted. So now that number is going to drop a lot. Young men are much more likely to be arrested and charged and convicted of crimes. Okay, so young people. So we expect immigrants to have a little higher rates there. And we're going all around and we're digging around and we're trying to figure it out. And we're going like, man, it doesn't make sense. Because We both know that immigrants have the lowest crime rates. This is just standard in the industry, okay? So then we start looking at it and we say, all right, so here's the number. Then we look a little further and we're like, 36,000 are immigration and driving offenses. So you got to subtract 36,000 from these. This is just being arrested, driving offenses, not DUIs. That means, you're in a car and the cops pull you over and you don't have your papers and you get arrested, right? Just for breathing, basically. Okay, are you walking through this? So see how this works? See how you go from the headline here, and now we're going to start talking about what's really going on. And then we get to the very bottom of the article. The very bottom, second to the last paragraph, and they say what we're saying, but nobody ever reads the second to the last paragraph. So that's what this says. They don't lead with that. It's the second to the last paragraph. So they're manipulating us, knowing that nobody reads the whole article, man. The only reason you read any of the stuff that I ask you to read is because you have to for the quiz. And if you didn't have to for the quiz, or if the quiz was like a open-ended blue book kind of thing, you wouldn't read any of it. We don't have to, so we do. So and then we're saying, oh my God. And do you know what that number is? The estimated what percent of Americans have arrest records? Do you know? Take a guess. What do you think? 3? 20? What do you think? Bro, what do you think? Come on with a number. What? 10? Bro. 12. What do you think? What? 11? It's 30. A lot of us, man, a lot of us get arrested. That's just once. That's not even people who get arrested multiple times, right? So even then, it goes back to what I said was true, but now we're playing with this. And then watch this. So, wait, hang on. I thought I was going to do that. Okay, so you see that, right? You see how it works, and you see how what we're doing is we're swaying people's perceptions about the world and what is. So how much racism is there in the world today? How much is there? Well, depends on which article you read recently and where you read it and what the headline is versus what else is out there and how they took the numbers and emphasized one number as opposed to a different one and how you want to think about it and all these things that are coming into play. And yet we all want to think that we're smarter than that. I don't get hung up on these things. I'm smarter than that. So here's another one. This came out from the Department of Justice. Very standard, bland people working in offices with white shirts and crunching the numbers. 64% of all federal arrests in 2018 were of non-U.S. citizens. What's that mean? Think about what that means. 64% of all federal arrests are of non-U.S. citizens. What are they getting arrested for? What have they done? And hang on a second. If you're not guilty, because we still live in this world, it's just getting arrested doesn't mean you're guilty. Yeah, but why are you arrested in the first place? Why are people even looking at you at all? You must have done something. You must be part of it. 64% arrests. What crimes? What crimes are we talking about? Where are we at? So think about it in your mind. What are we talking about? Arrests. We don't go to tiny little things like running a stop sign 5 times. Oh, God, who has any idea, right? The mind starts going to more violent things. Okay. Then check this out. 64% of all federal arrests in the 19th but here, between 1998, 2018, 234% increase. But the rest of U.S. citizens rose only 10%. Whoa. So non-U.S. citizens in 20 years, a 234% increase, but U.S. citizens only 10% increase. So now we're thinking, this is really serious. So, once again, let's go back to our friends at Fox News, right? And thus far, conservatives, Fox News twice, liberal news once. We'll balance it out before the end of the class. So BJS, so we're about 64% of federal arrests were of non-U.S. citizens. So these folks here had a nice conversation about these numbers, about the percentage increase, speculating about the crimes that are being committed, having a long conversation. Oh, but they left out one critical piece of information that is in this report. If you just scroll down a little bit, they never talked about it in all of the conversation that they had with this on the screen the entire time. And here's the piece of information. 90% of the arrests for federal crimes of non-U.S. citizens are immigration crimes. In other words, just by breathing, they got arrested. So they caught them somehow. They were walking down the street. They were in a car, driving a car. They don't have a license. But, whatever it is, just by breathing, they got arrested. 90% of the arrests. 95% of the increase, that 234% increase, that was really, really important. 94% is a result of immigration crimes. It's simply a result of the fact that over the past 20 years, including Bush and Obama and now Trump, have arrested and often deported more immigrants than they did in the past. No wonder the crime rate by non-U.S. citizens is up 234%, because we're going after them and arresting them. You see that? You see, so now we're back to what I've been saying all along. Look, take a step back. Look at the world. See what's going on. Try to understand what the numbers mean, because they mean something, and our minds are being manipulated in some way. So here's MSNBC. So they did the same headline. Non-citizens account for 64% of all federal arrests, Justice Department says. Most of those arrests were for immigration. So they got this right, partially. Most of those arrests were for immigration violations. Dude, not most, 90%. Not most. Most is 51%, at least. We're talking 90%. Not violent crimes. We're talking violent crimes. Dude, hardly any violent crimes are committed by immigrants, by undocumented immigrants. Very few, actually. So when you even say not violent crimes, you're still missing the mark. Because you're going, most of these are immigration violations, not violent crimes. So 51% are immigration violations. That must mean 49% are what? Violent crimes. You see how it goes? See how we just miss? Because we don't understand, and we're not looking, and we're not paying attention. So even they get it wrong, even though somehow they tried. And they're not really that liberal, by the way. Please. Just like Fox isn't that conservative. Okay, so now, anybody have any questions about that? You know what? In my ideal world, if I were sitting in this class, in my ideal world, what I wish for you is what I wish for me back when I was a student. And what I wish for me back when I was a student, and I had this experience in a couple classes, and it was really cool, was I was sitting in seats like this. I'm going to take a seat right here. And I'm listening to this lecture, and I'm going like, holy shit, I have no idea what is and isn't true. Oh my God. I'm not even watching the news anymore. This is insane. Fuck, I can't believe anything. What? I have no idea. This is insane. First off, I'm a complete idiot, and I'm probably always going to be mostly an idiot. And this is crazy to ever think that I can understand something, to ever think that people in power want to give me the accurate information. They want to give me the information they want to give to me. And so, okay. Dude. Thanks, man, for loaning me this seat. Anyone have a question on this? Anyone want to throw something out? It's mind-blowing, man. Is it mind-blowing? Dude, is it mind-blowing to you? Do you watch Fox News? Do you watch CNN? You don't watch any. Does anybody watch? Fine. All right, man. Okay, here we go. Now we go.
Sam, the argument is that you made was that people are being arrested just for breathing, but it's not for breathing.
Okay.
It's for being here.
No, it's breathing the air in the United States. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry about that. I should have known. Did someone on the stream say that?
I mean, they're here without documentation. They're here, as the United States would say, illegally. So therefore, there is a reason for them to be arrested.
Yeah, that's right. No, they can be arrested at just for they're walking down the street, whatever they're doing, they're breathing, and they get arrested not for breathing, but for breathing this air. They need to go to some other country and breathe that air. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you ready? Here's the liberal piece. All right. Hey, are there any... It'd be kind of cool if I could if I actually had a couple people who wanted to volunteer on this one. And I would need two people who I could volunteer. One would be someone who's kind of a snowflake. You know what a snowflake, right? Do you know what snowflakes are? You know what snowflakes are, right? And so I need what would be a snowflake, and I need someone who's really a snowflake who's okay. Hang on, let me not use snowflake. Is that an insult, by the way, to snowflakes? No, snowflakes are probably proud to be a snowflake. Yeah, all right. Okay.
By the way, liberals and conservatives can be snowflakes.
Oh my God, the conservatives are so annoyingly snowflake-like. God. I hate the fact that one side gets to come up with a word like that, and then they're usually, it's like or it's like reaction formation. Like you're always pointing out stuff. It's like people who are really just vociferously anti-gay. Why is it they always turn out to be gay? You know what I mean? So it's like, be quiet. Just chill out. Okay, I could use two volunteers. One is someone who's, dude, are you far to the left? Like far left? I thought you were far right the other day. All right, we can, all right, I'll go. Wait, are you, wait, all right, yeah, we'll take you. And I need somebody else, man. Ideally someone who's black. Dude, how about you, man? Yeah, look at you. Come on, man, you're black, right? All right. Dude, how about you? Is he black? He's black, right? What's that? What's a snowflake? A snowflake is a word that, you can just sit on the table, bro. A snowflake is a word that conservatives created to identify liberals who melt, who are like, they're just so soft and like they can't handle any conflict and they can't handle being any of the negative stuff. I don't know. Dude, you're on, man. Have a seat, man. Dude, did I get the snowflake right? All right. What's your name, bro? What's your name?
Bubene.
Ruben?
Bubene.
Bubene? Where are you from? Wait, talk in that.
From Ghana.
You're from Ghana?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm from North Carolina, but...
Dude, last weekend I made peanut soup, man.
Really?
Yeah, it's good. I make the best peanut soup. I make peanut soup that's better than your grandmother's, man.
I mean, that's false, but I mean...
I disagree with that.
Yeah. Yo, West Africans, I made peanut soup. I'll put it up against your grandmother's or your mother's peanut soup any day, man. I kill the peanut soup world, man. All right, so Babane?
Bubene.
Bubene.
Yeah.
Dude, what's your name?
Osamu.
What is it?
Osamu.
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 Osamu. Yeah, okay, you were up here before. All right, man, you ready? So here we go. You're thinking, I gotta try this dude's peanut soup. Yeah, man. All right, so here we go. This is the liberal piece. You know who this guy is?
Yeah.
Who is he?
That's Papa John.
Papa John, dude.
Papa John,
You know what
yeah.
the story is about Papa John?
No, what is it?
Do you know anything about Papa John?
I mean, it's a pizza company.
Yeah, you know anything else?
Not really. I mean,
Didn't he, I heard he made like some racist comment or
He
something.
made some. Yo, hang on. Yo, hang on, dogs. Yo, come bring it back. Bring it back. Come on. Yo, so what'd you hear? Wait, hang on. Hang on. Boubernet's got something to say, my friends. Hang on. At the top. Stay with us. Hang on, man. I still see people talking. Yo. Boubernat has the mic. Go for it, man.
I heard Mr. Papa's.
Mr. Papa. No, Mr. John. Dude.
I heard he made a racist comment.
He made a racist comment.
Yeah.
What was his comment?
I'm not sure what it was, but it sounded pretty bad based off of how people reacted.
So people reacted, so it sounded really bad. Did you hear anything about this, bro?
it's possible. I just don't remember what he said, but I just remember people reacting about it in a way.
All right, so listen, man. So this guy starts a peanut company. Let me tell you the story. Pizza company, yeah. God, my mind's on my peanut soup, y'all. I make terrible pizza, but I kill the peanut soup. So he starts a pizza company. His dad's got a tavern in Indiana. And he puts a brick oven, a pizza oven in the tavern. He starts making pizzas, and he starts killing it, like I would if I sold my peanut soup on the open market. But he starts killing it. And in a matter of not too long, because look, he's not that old actually, he builds this company up to 5,000 franchises, mostly franchises. And you know what a franchise is? When you buy into it, you buy the rights to use Papa John's, all their ingredients and their recipes and all their advertising and everything. And then you basically like cookie cut a store somewhere else. And then you own that store and you pay royalties back to the main office. So he builds it up to $1.7 billion in annual revenue. Okay? 1.7 billion. That's a serious company in a short period of time. That dude right there did that. That white guy from Indiana. Indiana is a very white state, by the way. Okay? So, come along, we get these protests in the NFL. Now, is it coming back to you now? A little bit? Coming back to you, bro?
No.
So protests,
A little bit.
So the players start protesting because of police violence. And the players decide, this guy in particular right here, so if you're not an American, so what happened where there was some really, for those who aren't U.S. citizens, 4 years ago there was some really high profile police violence cases where police killed innocent people who clearly were innocent. I mean, and they blew up into the media in really big ways, and people started taking to the streets. In particular, black people. Now, mind you, white people. A majority of people that police kill are white. But white people have this idea, they're more likely to think that, hey, the system will treat us fairly. We're going to leave it to the system will take care of it, the police will be investigated, and they definitely innocently killed my child or my cousin or my brother or whoever. But I'm going to leave it up to the system because the system, that's what it's called, the justice system, because there's justice. What do black people say about justice? Exactly that. The justice is for white people. Black and brown people don't get justice. So, when the police, it just happened to happen, is in a moment of just a number of things came together, and black people started going out into the streets and protesting. Now, mind you, black people are operating on behalf of everybody. Usually when black people protest, by the way, white people, I'm speaking now, hang on, I'm speaking to white people and I'm going to speak directly onto the stream. Usually when black people protest, when it's something that finally gets black people out into the street, it's usually something that first affects or probably mostly affects even white people. But the problem is also affects white people, oftentimes. But the problem is, white people don't ever protest. We do protest, like, when our team wins the World Series or something. But we don't protest violence and power. And so black people become the people who are really doing the things on behalf of everybody. So when these players are protesting police violence, they're protesting police violence to everybody. Most police violence is actually, in terms of sheer numbers, directed toward people who look like me, not toward people who look like you. Okay, you got that, right? You see that way, people? So anyway, this guy, Papa John, was the pizza company for the NFL. Got it? Pizza company for the NFL. Hence, that's why this photo here with these players, or former players. Papa John, at some point, thinks that all the pizza profits start to dip. He comes out with a statement and says, listen, these NFL protests are a problem. The protests are a problem because people were boycotting NFL games. People were boycotting anything that had anything to do with the NFL, including Papa John's Pizza. They were going across the street to Domino's because the NFL, or the Papa John's associated with the NFL, and people were really unhappy. Half the people were unhappy that some people were protesting and taking a knee and degrading the flag, and the other half of the people were protesting the fact that people were protesting that they were taking a knee. They're like, why wouldn't we protest police violence? Come on. So you got half the people in this way, and the other half of the people the other way, and the NFL viewership, people going to games, everything starts to dip, including pizza profits from the NFL. Okay? So this guy opens his mouth and says, the NFL's really got to get this protest thing in order, and it's got to take care of things so we can move on, because our profit margin is really hurting. What do you think about that? Is that sensitive? The NFL, people are dying. You ready? Dude, people who look like you, more so than me, both of us, but the perception is people who look like you are being killed by the police. And this white dude comes along and is like, hey man, I get the protesting thing, but y'all need to get this thing together and get these players to stop protesting because my pizza profits are actually getting hurt. What do you think about that?
That's crazy. It's some pizza. What?
Pizza, dude. Pizza profit.
It's pizza profit.
All right, dude. What do you think, bro?
I mean, the pizza profit has nothing to do with protest. I think protesting is everyone's right to do, and they're protesting for the right thing. I mean, if they believe it's right, then they have the right to do it.
Okay.
That's why we have First Amendment.
Okay, got you. All right. So he's a pizza guy, but his job is to make pizzas, and his franchisees are starting to lose money, and this guy opens his mouth and says, can you all get your act together? Because I'm I got a problem here. I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to make money. We're trying to make money, and we're getting hurt, right? Okay, then they move him away from all the advertising. Okay? So you're like, dude, now Papa John's stock starts to plummet. And they're like, we got to pull you out from advertising. We're not going to put your name. We're not going to put your face on pizza boxes anymore. We're going to remove all your images and all of our television advertising and so on. We just got to pull you away because you are really toxic right now because people hate you because you put pizza over the lives of people. Okay, cool, got it. All right, man. Then about 9 months later, I see this headline. Oh, damn. Oh. That's what you remember hearing. So he dropped the M-bomb on a conference call. Papa John, this guy right here, that guy, this guy who built the empire, $1.7 billion, dropped the M-bomb on a conference call. They forced him to resign. You can't drop the M-bomb on a conference call, man. Come on, dude. What do you mean? Think about, he's on a conference call with people on his team and associates, and he drops the M-bomb. Think about what he said. All you got is that. What do you say, bro? What do you think he said? Tell me how he probably used the M-bomb in the conference call.
Maybe he used it in a very offensive way, or maybe in a very aggressive way.
Offensive or
which probably
aggressive.
made people feel like, oh my God,
All right.
let's avoid this person.
Dude. Okay, what do you think, bro?
I mean, it's possible that he used it in a quote, like saying what someone else said.
It's possible he used it in a quote saying what someone else said?
Yeah.
So your mind goes to that? When you read that, he's forced to resign because he used it in a quote?
I mean, if he's resigning, then
Where's your mind go that you think what he probably said?
he probably used it for something offensive. But if we're going to keep an open mind and look at all the possible opportunities.
Oh, dude, this is what I love. A human being with an open mind. All right, so let's walk through. So so the idea is Forbes. This is Forbes. They come out and they say, okay, we're going to run this story about you using the N-bomb. And here's the story. So he's in a conference call with this PR company, because clearly the guy botched the NFL thing. They can't even use his face on their advertising. They're like, dude, you are toxic to the company. People aren't buying our pizzas because they think you're a racist, like you're a jerk because of what you said about the NFL. Just for saying that. And so now we're going to have a conversation with this PR team who's going to teach us we're going to talk to you about how you need to be so you don't seem like such a jerk. All right? So it's diversity training for the media. So then one thing they ask him is, are you racist? He's like, no, I'm not racist. And they say, well, why would you say what you said about the NFL if you weren't racist? And he says, how is that racist? I make pizzas. I have franchisees. My franchisees all have families. This isn't about me. This is about them. Every one of my 5,000 stores is owned by somebody. Everyone who works in those stores has families. They rely on pizza. They rely on customers coming into the store and buying pizzas so that they can feed their families and do what they do. Obviously, I'm also really wealthy, but there are all these other things in play here. How is that racist? I make pizzas. Address this NFL disaster and get on with it so my chain isn't associated in such a negative way with the NFL. He says, how is that racist? First off, tell me, right? And they say, well, okay. I think we need to hire Kanye West as our spokesperson. And he says, Kanye West drops the N-bomb left and right in his song lyrics. We're a family organization. We are not hiring someone who's dropping the N-bomb in his song lyrics and day-to-day and whatever. We don't know. No, he is not going to be our spokesperson. Kanye West. We're a family company. So they pressure him to use Kanye West. No, we need to use Kanye West and da-da-da. And he's like, no. And then here's what happens. So they're pressuring him about being racist. He's like, look, what have I done that really is taking the whole company down? All I did was make the comment about the NFL. Colonel Sanders, the chicken, Colonel Sanders? Colonel Sanders regularly said, insert N-bomb. Ready? Gentlemen. Colonel Sanders regularly called black people N-bomb. I can't say it. You see, if I say it, even though I'm quoting him, I can't even say it. So he makes the horrible mistake in his conference call to say, hey, look, what have I done that's so terrible? I mean, I get it. There are racists out there everywhere. Colonel Sanders regularly called black people. It's all I did was talk about the NFL. Ready? So what happens? Well, the laundry service, they didn't hire this company, the PR company. They didn't hire them. They paid them off. They didn't hire them. The PR company goes to the media and says, hey, John Schnatter, Papa John, was in a conference call with us and he used the N-bomb. Dude. So he gets pushed out of the company, forced to resign, because he did what I almost did right here in this situation, because I could have dropped the N-bomb right here, and I don't think, would you have been offended if I'd have said, he said that? It doesn't matter. I don't give a shit if you would be offended or not. This is the idea. This is how he used the N-bomb, not aggressively. So you have the idea like, oh, he must have been aggressive. Well, he's a racist. So here comes now media. People just piling it on. Here's one. Here's an article that comes out in the Dallas Morning News by a woman. Joyce King was her name, right? I read this thing, and I'm like, dude, being a racist. Clearly, this guy is a racist. Clearly, he should lose his entire business empire. Clearly, he should this. Clearly, he should that. So, what do you both think about that? This guy loses everything for dropping the N-bomb in that way.
I mean, some people take that as a offense, and it makes sense to force someone to resign for that reason, because there are really people out there who might say, look, I'm sick of that word. I don't want to hear it from anyone, especially someone who's rich enough and we're poor. That's not fair for us. That's fine.
So just so you know, conservatives who are watching the stream right now, or any conservatives, would label you a snowflake. Just to know that. I'm not saying you are or you're not, but that would be a snowflake response. That, wait, hang on a second. So Kanye West can drop the N-bomb, and that's like okay, and he can do it
okay
left, right, and center, but this guy, in the context of that, he can't say it.
I mean, nobody should say it, full stop.
Dude, I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't. I'm just pointing out this is what the issue is here. Kanye West. Racism, y'all. Dude, racism. When you call this guy a racist, yo, man, a racist. What are we talking about? Racism is bad for business. So what do you think?
In this situation, it's almost like a think before you speak. The fact that he just said it right away sort of means like he didn't feel uncomfortable saying it. So it's like, if he said it like that here, he's probably said it before. In what context did he say it before?
Oh, man. Dude, where are we going as a society, man? Seriously? No, I mean, that's fine. I'm not... Look, dude, first off, let's be really clear about something. I don't drop the N-bomb, man. Last time I dropped the N-bomb, I was probably 12 years old or something. I don't do it. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm not a person well, Kanye West can say it so other people can say it. What the fuck? I don't care. Like, I'm not about that. But I'm like, dudes, look, if we get to a society, this is the society we have created, that there is a word, that when someone's quoting somebody else using the word, and that's enough for that person to get fired from quoting somebody else using the word, it's like, what kind of world have we come to that there's something that's like off limits? Like, for example, I don't know, you can never ever wear brown shoes under any circumstance. Just don't wear brown shoes because they signify that. I have no idea. Right? But I'm just thinking, whoa. Do you see what could be the problem? Do you guys see what could be the problem in what you're saying? Like, I'm not saying it is. I just want to know. Do you understand? I'm just pushing right here. Right? I'm pushing. Because we're in this world of... Do you see what could be the problem with that? Mm-hmm. What's the problem?
I mean, it's like, just... In this situation, it's like,
Dude, let me help you, man. I got it. I do know. Where do you stop?
Exactly.
Where do you stop? Oh, it's the N-bomb. Oh, when do we decide... Oh, you can't say the word. You can't even say N-bomb. Oh, even to think, oh no, you can't do that. We're going to put fucking monitors on you. If you even think the word, then the monitor's going to go off and we're going to arrest you or whatever we're going to do. How far do we go? And then it becomes N-bomb, and I just said it. How many times did I say N-bomb in this class already? And so 3 years from now, I get fired. You read, Penn State professor Sam Richards fired for saying N-bomb 12 times in one single class. And we don't use N-bomb anymore. It's like, oh my God. Dude, do you see that? Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't know what else to say. I mean, I think offensive language should not be allowed anyways at any time.
Okay, I get that, but you understand.
I mean, it's.
I get.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, you go first. I was gonna say, like, with offensive language, it's just always a good precaution to let them know your intentions of what you're about to say before you say it. Like in the situation, if he had said, I'm just using this as a quote, and then said that Colonel Sanders says this all the time, then that would have been okay, because he would have covered it before. Showing that he was thinking ahead of time to make sure he wasn't stepping on any toes.
All right, so is that true for everybody? Is it true for you also? Do you ever drop the N-bomb?
I mean, once or twice.
All right, hang on. So is that true for you? So like when you, I'm just asking, because I know that it's different, because, you know, I get the story that, you know, but you, dude, but there are a lot of you're Ghanaian, right?
Yeah.
Born there or born here?
Born here.
Born here. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of African Americans who would say, yeah, but listen, man, but your family didn't actually go through slavery because your family came from Ghana. And so you don't even have the right to drop the N-bomb. So be careful. When you're around black people and they're African Americans, you may want to warn them ahead of time that you're about to drop it because you want to prepare them because they might be snowflakes too.
That's fair.
All right.
I think a lot of, I'm Andy, by the way. I think a lot of things are being ignored in the situation. Like, so this is a situation where extremes are being highlighted. So I think the media and the PR company were definitely wrong in, I think, putting things out of context. But I also think that John was also in the wrong for ignoring a lot of context. Like, I get not wanting to hurt your business, especially when you're being tied to such a political movement. But I guess coming out, speaking before you think, and then talking about your pizza sales, which, you know, is a rational thought as a business owner.
Yeah.
But in such a social climate, it's going to come across the wrong way.
Dude.
So when he said that in the conference call, despite whether or not he said it in the past or not, what context he used it, it's still seen as ignorant. People are looking at racist and not racist, but nobody's talking about the fact of ignorance. Ignorance exists in a lot of people. Ignorance can lead to racism, but it doesn't mean you are racist. I'm not arguing whether or not John is racist, but he was certainly ignorant. I don't think anybody was giving either side the benefit of the doubt in that aspect.
Okay, listen, man. But even for you to say, I don't know if he is racist, but he was ignorant, right? Yeah. Even ignorant is one of those words. In the letter of in the definition in a dictionary, it means, you know, ignoring, unaware of, or ignoring, or whatever, not taking account of certain information. But in our culture, ignorant means, right, you're stupid and you're bad. And in this particular case, it means you're racist, right? Yeah. So even to say that, it's like, clearly, I would never, if I was him, I could make a critique of the NFL pretty easily, and I would never say it in the way that dude said it. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, Mr. White Guy, like, come on, get a feel for the issues here. Like, come on, where you at? Like, we're in 2020 or whatever. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, I get that. I think you're talking about the social perception of what the, I guess, definitions to us about ignorance is. But ignorance is general, you know, lack of knowledge on a subject. I don't think that's stupidity. I think acceptance of ignorance is stupidity.
Yeah. Okay,
I don't think
listen, man.
You're
Okay,
being
that's
stupid
fair.
at all for being uneducated on a certain subject.
Dude, or being aware. I would say less uneducated. I would just say being aware.
Yeah.
Just like most of us in here. Let me just point this out, bro. So the two of you are sitting here, so we have the perspective. I would say, you know, those of you who are shaking your heads and thinking like, oh yeah, this guy, screw him, he should lose his pizza empire. Listen, man, we could sit down and talk. I could pick out some things that you think that are just as ignorant and problematic as anything that this guy said. But you just don't. And then this guy does, and then we point our fingers, and we're like, oh, yeah, he's the problem, and like, not us. And I'm not defending this guy. I don't give a damn about, I don't like pizza even. Like, I don't like his pizza. I don't care. Actually, we had some a couple weeks ago. It was pretty good. First time in my life, I think I ever had Papa John's. It was all right. But like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Doesn't matter. But where are we going? The idea is nobody knows what the story is. We just know, okay, he's racist, and most people are going to say what you said. Oh, he must have used it in some aggressive way, and if he used it in this way, he must use it normally in the rest of his life and make aspersions. I'm like, oh my God, really? We don't know. We don't know anything. And so, all right, man. Thanks. Thanks, gents. Dude, thanks, man. Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen. By the way, I'm not making some kind of argument that people should be able to walk around dropping the N-bomb in certain situations. I'm reading for a book, I should do that. That's not the issue here. The issue is, how is it that just suddenly it's the end of life for somebody? Well, what about the things that you're doing that we do right now, that you're doing, that any of us are doing, that in 3 years will be the end of everything? Because, I don't even know. All right, so here, let's do this one. This guy. Anyone know who this guy is? How many know who he is? How many recognize his face? Right? One person? That's it? Dang. 2? All right, so this guy got fired for dropping the N-bomb. So let me walk you through. So if you want to fire this guy for walking the N-bomb, this guy here, he said it in the context of talking about somebody else in history. Okay, then this is where we're going to go, right here. So this guy, Marlon Anderson, security guard at a school district in Madison, Wisconsin, at a high school in Madison, Wisconsin. Some kid in the school is being disruptive. The principal calls for help, calls the school guardians, being like, they're trying to take this guy out of the school. Calls Marlon over, like, Marlon, help out, we got to take this guy out. The kid's fighting, he's like yelling stuff, he's yelling obscenities, and he starts calling this guy the N-bomb. And Marlon puts up with it. He's like, dude, stop that. As he's like wrestling him out of the building. Stop that, dude, stop calling me that. Stop calling me that word. And he's getting him out of the building. Stop calling me that. Come on, man. Really, stop. And the two of them, and finally, Marlon says, stop calling me N-bomb. Got it? Well, what Marlon forgot was the high school has a zero tolerance policy for saying N-bomb. So the kid was going to get expelled, but he gets fired. And the principal comes forward with a statement to people, to all the family members. Here she is, right here. So she sends a letter informing them that a staff member would not be returning to the school. And she writes, as you know, our expectation when it comes to racial slurs has been made very, very clear. Regardless of context or circumstances, racial slurs are not acceptable in our schools. So, my friends, you want to fire Papa John? You think he should be fired? Well, then he should be fired. Because he broke a zero tolerance policy. Why wouldn't he be fired? Oh, well, he can't because it's a little different. What's the difference? It's just as absurd. Really, what's the difference? What's the difference? I'm going to push you on that. I can point the differences. I'm smart enough. I can see that these are different situations and so on, and I'm going to push back and be like, what's the difference? Hang on, this is just rhetorical. And then she is the one that writes the letter saying, sorry, Marlon had to go because he broke our zero tolerance policy. He ultimately got his job back because so many people, including students at the school, were upset and bothered and so on. Same people that didn't come to the defense of John Schneider. from Papa John. I'm sure they didn't come to his defense, but they came to his defense. So this is where we go. This is the world we're going to go in. If we want to have these kinds of, we're going to have language police and action police and thought police and so on. You want to walk up that aisle? Well, we're going to walk up the other aisles also. This is where we're at. And then what's really the problem here? We're not paying attention to racism, as though like Papa John is the problem, as though this guy here is the problem. No, racism and violence against everybody, but disproportionately against people who are black and brown seems to me to be the problem. And against women, I should add. But we get ourselves all rolled up in a ball in all these other ways. So here, I got another one for you. How many know who she is? You see this? This just came out in the news. So a woman says Denver arena guard told her to remove a hijab. So she was going to the arena in Denver to see one of her children was singing in a choir, I think. So she shows up at the arena. Okay? Gazela, I assume it's Gazela Ben Shredi. Okay? She shows up. She's wearing a hijab. And the hijab, from what I could see in the photos, her covering was more or less very similar to this. Okay? Cool? So she shows up, and the security guard says, as she's walking up, here, can you just stand up really fast? From how they describe it, so she comes up, walk up toward me, you're going to get in, stop, you can't come in with that, you got to take that off. And then she says, what do you mean I got to take it off? So, no, you got to take it off. So she says, this woman, okay, you can sit down, I just want to do that. So I just want to wave my hand in your face. So she says, I wear this for religious reasons. I don't want to take it off. She says, I don't care why you wear that thing, you're taking it off if you want to come in. It's like, okay. So she says to the guard, do you think there's a place, and she's with her child. She says, do you think there's a room where we could go? Like kind of a secure room that's where I could take it off, and because she's kind of modest about taking her hijab off. And the guard says, "No, there's nothing like that. You have to go." Sort of waves her away. So this woman is like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" So pretty quickly, this all happens really fast. A guy comes out in this other area. He walks over, assesses the situation really fast, and apparently pulls the security guard aside, and first off, and then waves her through. Very fast. It's like 30, maybe 40 seconds. And then the security guard comes back out, so they talk to her briefly, and she comes back out and doesn't say anything, doesn't really interact with her, but this woman gets in. She goes through the metal detector. The metal detector goes off because her cell phone was in her pocket, and she had to come back and get the cell phone out and so on, and it was fine. And she gets in. So the whole thing takes an additional maybe 45 seconds or so. Not very long. Okay, cool? Got it? So the idea is the security guard is clearly out of line. And it's a problem because you don't know what hijab is, and you don't understand anything about this head covering and Muslim women and so on. And so, come on, man, are you kidding me? What do you mean? She's coming to you saying it's for religious reasons. What do you know? Like, why aren't you aware? Why don't you know? Why don't you understand what's going on? So then this is a problem. So the Council on Islamic Affairs and Islamic American Relations, they get involved and they put out press release, and, I forget what they said, but, something like, this is just really terrible. This is an indication of what happens to Muslim people and so on. And she didn't make like a major deal over it, but she'd put out a Facebook post and say, hey, this happened to me, and that's how it blew up. And it blew up such that when I went online, when I looked at it, it's everywhere. These are just images, but each one is the same story over and over and over again. Y'all don't know the story because you don't pay attention to the news, but there are a few dozen Americans who actually do pay attention to the news. And so So here's the thing, though. You ready? Here's the problem with this. Here's what makes it complicated. What do you think about what you're thinking about the security guard? Okay? Think about what you're thinking. Waving her hand in her face, and I don't care why you wear that thing, you're not coming inside. Ready? She's a 71-year-old African-American woman. So people are calling for her to be fired, calling for a lawsuit against the Denver Nuggets arena, calling for a lawsuit against the security company, calling for them, all sorts of things happening. The security guard, first off, she's 71 years old. I'm like, all right, man, you've been on the planet 71 years, but she's not up on hijabs. And she's not up in hijabs to what she's wearing to think like, yeah, okay, that's a head covering. Like, okay, I get it. All right, I get that. But my guess is it changes. The story changes for most of us in here. 71-year-old black woman. Oh. So, can we go back to Papa John? We want to play in that world where you do one thing wrong, and we could even have arguments about what is and isn't wrong. What if he accidentally drops the N-bomb, but he was trying to say another word, and he accidentally said that one, and like, oh my God, how far do we want to go? So if we want to play in that world of utter condemnation for the slightest thing that we do wrong, the slightest mistake we made, well then the black security guards should get fired. The whole Denver organization could get sued. I mean, how far do you want to go with it? Well, she should know. You know what I mean? Like, where do we want to go here? I mean, first off, it's the same thing as the other story. It's like black security guard. Can you just stop with the hand waving and you're not coming in here with that? First off, this woman said there were men in the lobby when they were getting with baseball caps on. Of course, and I'm like, she's not making that shit up because there are men everywhere with baseball. If there are more than 3 men, there's at least 1 baseball cap. So like, why are they getting in? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Or did you make them all take the cap off and see if there's something under the cap? Did you she's asking, can we go to a private room? Could you maybe we could just, I could take it off. I could show you I don't have anything underneath. No, we can't do that. Okay, so she could have just whipped it off. Like the men probably would just whip their cap off and be like, yeah, see, I'm good. Like, all right, good. But she's not. It's different for her. Wearing a hijab, covering her hair is different than, you wearing the baseball cap or you or whoever, right? It's a different story. So, you see, what I'm saying, I don't know, there's nobody's right, nobody's wrong. All I know is when we start pointing our fingers at things, at people, 3 are coming back at us, and it's going to be a problem. Somewhere along the line, dude, I actually read, okay, I shouldn't say this, because, no, I'm not going to say it. Oh, yes, I will. Why not? I'm going to live large. I'm going to demonstrate that I have really big cojones, and I'm going to live really large. So, you ready? I think there's actually a video of me from this class from many years ago somewhere on YouTube. I don't know where it is, but I was reading a tweet for somebody who was watching the class, and they dropped the N-bomb in the tweet, and I actually read it out loud. It's like 4 years ago. It's like, whoa. So 4 years ago. That was back when, no, it's actually more like 8 years ago, actually. And 8 years ago, you still could do that, but you could go through all the YouTube videos, you could find that clip, send it to CNN, and get my ass fired so I could retire on an island somewhere in the Caribbean and relax, and I wouldn't have to do this anymore. Bro.
I don't know how hard it would be to like remove a hijab. Like I don't know like what goes on there. Could you explain like what would like go on? Like how like does it take long to take off? Is it like a wrap? I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Wait. No, hang on. I don't think any of our... There are two women in class who cover, but they're not here today. Neither one is here today, are they? Yeah. No, we'll do that. How about if we do it? We'll have them demonstrate before the end of the semester.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll talk about... Well, yeah, that'll be cool. We'll do it. So you can see. We can put the job on a couple of people. Yeah. Yo, okay, I want someone right now to take the microphone and do a yes, but. Like, yes, Sam, we get where you're going, but blah, blah, blah. I know, whatever. Doesn't have to be negative, really.
No, I really did. Hi, how you doing?
What's up?
No, please don't. That's okay. Did this security guard get fired?
Did she get fired?
Yeah.
Nah, they just pull her aside and be like, come on, man, let's bring you up to speed. Here's this thing, it's called a job. She was probably like, yeah, I kind of heard of them, but like, she probably doesn't know any Muslim women. She probably hasn't really thought. It's one of these things, like, just like he's asking, like, yeah, but I don't really know about the hijab. So like, I don't know, can you wear it? Just like, remember when we talked about hair? And like, people don't know about hair. They don't know about black hair. They don't know about anything. People don't know about anything, right?
Okay, so I am lucky enough to be enlightened in certain subjects.
No, hang on. Not enlightened. Don't say enlightened.
Okay,
You're
informed.
lucky. You're
I'm
lucky
informed.
enough, or by chance,
Right.
you know about certain
Okay.
things.
So we'll go with what he said. And I have a couple of things. My first thing is, how do you have an 81-year-old 71, security guard in a
Well, she's
athletic
not really a
arena?
security guard. I mean, she's not chasing anybody down. You know, not like this dude or this dude. Like, you know, she's just taking tickets and stuff.
It's like the guy on Barstool, if you ever saw the security guard at Beaver Stadium, who's like barely touching the people
Yeah.
that he's checking. It's kind of like that, I assume.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And when you like explain the situation, I feel like she's 100% wrong, because that's like asking. I feel like there's a lot of prejudice against the hijab, and like for someone to ask them to take it off, unless you're in the airport, that's a whole different situation. And me and TSA are not friends, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I got it.
But like that's. My scenario would be like asking someone to take off their cross because you're wearing a cross, or like the Star of David or something.
Okay, so let me just say the following. That's a really nice response. I will say the following. My imagination of her is actually that it's just as likely, instead of her being like really aggressive and she knows what it is and she's just like, F you Muslims or whatever, right? She's actually just totally unknowing about any of it. She's like, no, you're wearing a hat. Like, no, take it off. Like, whatever. That she's just as like, whatever. It's anything else. It's just as likely that that's very much the story, and we don't know. But clearly, yeah. Just that right there, exactly. That she's just hanging out. That guy. Is he blind, bro? He looks like he's blind. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. My God. All right. Wait. Who else wants to crank? Who else wants to say? Wait. We have 3.5 minutes.
Is the mic working? I was just gonna say, like, to answer the question about the hijab, it's like, in terms of taking it off, let's say you get asked to take off your shirt. Like, taking off your shirt isn't necessarily like difficult. It's just like it's exposing. So like, she wouldn't want to take that off in front of other people, and she might want a private room. Or it's like, let's say your teacher says take off your hat in class. It's not hard to take off your hat. It's just like you feel exposed when you take it off, so you don't want to take it off in front of people.
Exactly.
That's
No,
just what
I
it
think
is.
that's the kind of thing, right? For me, look, y'all, right? Yins, for the Pittsburgh folks, yins. What this class is about is an opportunity to touch on lots and lots of different things so that we don't become the security guard. It seems really obvious to me, but it's not obvious to everybody. So it's like, okay. Wait, who else? Well, can we make one final thing, man?
I would also say that it's almost like the comment that was made last class about eating pork with a Muslim father. It's like, it's a form of disrespect. Like when you ask somebody to do that, it's like, it's a form of disrespect.
Yeah, totally, man. Yo, hang on. We're going to wait, Ali. We're going to wait because I'm going to have somebody. We'll do it. Somebody have a. No, wait. We're not leaving it until somebody says one thing. Who wants to say something? Something, dudes.
No one has a comment about Papa John being fired, but the other dude not being fired. And Sam saying that they should be treated the same.
Oh, damn, dog. All right, hang on. You got him. Wait. All right, go ahead. What do you think?
My problem with her isn't the fact that she was like ignorant on hijabs. It's the fact that after she asked for a private room and explained that it was a religious,
she still said no.
She still said no.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I know. That's kind of, that seems, but maybe it's really busy. There's a million people. Look at me. I'm the guy that's trying to make excuses for a 71-year-old black woman who's clearly being ignorant and racist. And I'm like, you hear what I'm doing? I'm doing the thing so a lot of you complain that like, well, when you tell you about racism, you say, yes, but it might have been this other thing, and it might have been that. And here I am doing that for a 71-year-old black woman. I'm like, y'all, maybe she did this, or maybe she was that, or I'm that guy. Dude, next, all right, see you all.
Oh, wow.
Hey, that was good.